Hello, everyone. Welcome to yet another episode of Series of Courage with Saahas. Today we have Ritu Goel, who's founder of mental wellness startup with us. She is an amazing professional, someone who's an alumni with MIT, alumni with University of Buffalo, uh, a psychiatrist by profession, worked in the UK with NHS, now doing her startup focused on AI. She has over 20 years of experience as a child and adolescent psychiatrist. And I couldn't be more excited to introduce her. Her startup is called uh, Mind Claire. And here we have her. For the folks listening to us from the US, she's worked extensively with Kaiser Permanente in her former years here. And here we have Ritu with us. Ritu, thank you for joining us. Thank you for making time. It's so important to have voices like you so that people can derive courage and we get inspiration for people to pursue STEM in United States. Tell me how you're doing today.
Great. Thank you, Akriti, for having me and all these kind words. I'm pleased to be here.
Thank you. Ritu, just to start with, do you mind introducing yourself both personally and professionally?
Yeah. So I'm Dr. Ritu Goel, an integrative child, adults, and adult psychiatrist. I have also been a founder of MindClare that provides two sectors of one is private practice of integrative child and adult psychiatrists, as well as a wellness AI based startup that is in development. It is going to be for employees of micro, small, and medium enterprises.
Thank you. Great to hear that. Ritu, can you briefly describe what led you to the real twists and turns of coming from India to UK to US and then to startup? Describe your journey from right from how you were as a kid. I'm pretty sure you were curious one, and to an extent that curiosity continues 20 years in the profession.
Oh God, yeah, it seems like a long time ago. So I grew up in a small town called Dadri near Ghaziabad in Uttar Pradesh in India. And I grew up in a joint family, conservative family, where my parents were the educated ones, and the rest, all the aunts and uncles and grandparents, they were not so educated. However, all the women in family were housewives. Nobody had worked for living as women, and that is something stuck with me as growing up, that I would like to be self-dependent, self-reliant, and not be a housewife and depend on others. It's just the observation around all the women, and I wanted to be that empowerment of my own self. And as growing up, with the limited resources around, I got inspired by the physicians I met during my own care, especially my ENT, because I used to get a lot of ear infections and I used to go and see him. And he was such a polite and nice gentleman that it just occurred to me that I want to be a physician because it really helps and it brings relief, and what a noble profession it to be. So that was the seed in the mind while in middle school, high school, not knowing anything about how to be a doctor. There was no doctors around, the small places, limited resources, but I just continued to inquire and didn't go up. I think my parents, they were very monumental, that they had the trust in me and they supported me, let me pursue and let me go, and talk to people. They didn't stop me from any of that, oh no, you have to do like the other women or the girls in the family, that you go to the graduate college and get married to another businessman. That was not the case. So I continued, I found my ways, with the constant efforts, talked to a lot of people, figured out the ways. Hard work, obviously a lot of hard work, figuring it out and then really studying, because those medical entrance exams in India are pretty tough. Because like at that time, talking about 1996, among 3 lakh people used to sit those exams, and only I think the good seats were about, if I correctly remember, up to 3,000 ranks were selected. So it was more like an elimination process rather than selection process. So once I got my feet into my dreams, got more and more solidified, I became more and more that, okay, this is happening, I'm doing it, continued, became the doctor. While in the med school, it just I got fascinated with the behavioral sciences and psychiatry, because it was not that common back then in India, in the late 90s. And I finished my med school in 2001. So I wanted to pursue psychiatry, although everybody was like, what do you mean? It's like, no, trust me, this is what I want to do. And the training and psychiatry was not as recognized and advanced at that time in India. So wanted to pursue advanced training, which is what led me to UK, because I thought the UK and US has a great training. Not knowing anybody again in UK, had no footings or whatsoever, never been on in a plane or airplane. So figure out those ways, had to pass the English exam, IELTS, which was the biggest hurdle for me because passing that was the biggest challenge. I think I see in that journey. Once I got through all those things, exams happened, came to UK. I really did my full advanced training in UK, worked a little bit, and then I saw there were a lot more opportunities here in US. Went through some US entrance exam, they call USMLE, so 3 of them, did the interviews for residency, and yeah, landed in Buffalo, which was warm people but very cold weather. Um, so residency, and then I also did the fellowship in child psychiatry during that time. And during my fellowship, I met my husband, and of course, the kids happened. And following that, I mean, it's been a journey. Obviously, every step of the way, I wanted to pursue child psychiatry, and within that, I was very fascinated with the neurodevelopment, autism kind of conditions, and the dream place was Kennedy Krieger and Johns Hopkins, and the stars aligned. Mentors were incredible, and I got through. So I did my first attending faculty position at Johns Hopkins, and worked at Kennedy Krieger, where I got immense experience in working with the autism population and variety of very, very complex, because a lot of patients come internationally to these organizations. And that was that. Academic career was very enriching, but I had my second kid right there, back to back, and personal life and family needed the time and attention. So that's when we decided, okay, I might step out of the academia and balance some of the life. And we, my husband and I both wanted to be here in California. That's what brought us in 2019 to Southern California, and hence the Kaiser Permanente, which was again amazing, amazing journey. But I wanted a bigger impact, and that's what led me to now this year start my own private practice, which is integrative psychiatry, and my starter for AI-based wellness program, MindCare.
I would like to dive a little bit into some of those elements. You said you did not come from a background where women were educated, and look at you, you being modest, and of course that reflects in your accomplishments. But tell me, what is that burning desire which people could, count on or reflect on, that led you to probably first take a path that's very different and completely unconventional in India, which was psychiatry, and then trying to find, your way out of Ghaziabad to UK and then to US. Help me a little bit on your mental framework perspective. What is that you were trying to prove to yourself and to your family? What was your big motivation?
I'm thinking. I think growing up, I really observed. I think I was a very curious and observant kid and teen, for sure. And I had figured without somebody telling me, if I want my life to be different than all the people, all the women I'm surrounded with, then I have to do something different. So that I figured that was there, because it has to be a different journey, and there was nothing wrong with them, but it wasn't for me because I did not want to depend on somebody. I did not. I was a very free spirit person. I didn't like that being in the cage. I felt I can do more, and I wanted to do more. I used to envision that what it would be like that I am in that leadership position and there are people who are following me, and then I can make some difference. That was what was there in the middle school kind of days. But then this little mind is like, okay, here I am in this small town. How automatically continue to follow, the door started opening, the path just started, I think, and the God was kind and blessed me with all of these things. But this was what it was. I think every step of the way, I wanted to challenge myself. And then I wanted to test my own agility and resilience and determination that I can do it. And then every step of the way, I proved that to myself, not to anybody else. It was nobody else's journey. It was for my own self.
And I'm sure during this journey, there would have been times you would have let yourself down, whereas everybody else around you would have been proud of what you're already achieving. To in that day and age, just to be a doctor itself was considered like, you know, uh, and I'm not trying to be feminist here, but a woman doctor, that it was an accomplishment in itself. So I do understand that you had this burning desire, you manifested a lot of things, but talk to me a little bit about what about those days when you were actually not proud of yourself, not because the world didn't seem to be proud of, they probably felt you're really better off than everybody. How did you, because you have ambitious audience as well, right? Ambitious students as well, ambitious entrepreneurs as well. And all we need to learn from each other is there will be times where, very personal to you, you wouldn't feel you're sufficient. You're not enough. You've not done 100%. How do you keep going during those days? What's been your mantra? Yeah.
Many times, many phases. I would not be honest if I say, oh no, it has been such a always upward journey. I don't think it ever happens for anybody, because that is how the paths are paved, and that's how people become successful. There 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 have been times, there were failures, but not giving up. I maybe sad for a day, two couple days, but that larger goal that I have to reach there, and once you achieve that, then there's another goal, and then there's another goal. But that is what has always kept me driving, and not just give up on those things. Had I had given up, um, I wouldn't have been there. I mean, I very vividly remember, even to get into the med school, not knowing where to get the right coaching, where to, and hard work, and where am I missing out? What else do I need to do? Um, it took efforts. It took time. There was failed first attempt. I did not get into med school, so I had to do another year, and then I got in. But then it's a history. I don't even remember about it, right? And it was very rewarding. History, right? The results that I got. Same way when I was going to UK, as I was saying, the IELTS. No, that was not my strength. And here's this girl who wants to go to this country, and you don't know the language so very well. And um, there was not internet access. We didn't even have a TV with English channels. We didn't have anybody talking in English. So how are you going to accomplish? That was the most daunting task, not the medical exam. I can do anytime. But I did one time. I flung probably one. There used to be four parts, one part. Then I did another time. Again, I missed one part. Then I went the third time, and I told my parents that, you know what, I am going to get it. I don't know how, but I will get it done. So I used to go to this British Library embassy in Barakamba Road in Connaught Place, and used to go and there were all the resources. I spent about a month or so, and yes, I nailed it. So that is what it was: not giving up, not feeling, oh, how come on, you don't even know the language. How can you even dream about going to that country very well? But that didn't deter me. And that is how it has been all through, like getting through the first observership, the first um, residency equivalent, higher training in UK, and so on and so forth. And then here, I mean, this was coming from UK to US was much easier compared to the coming from India to UK for me.
Uh, I can relate to your IELTS journey. My mom is an ex-IELTS examiner, so I can relate to it. And given your time, when there wasn't internet, you could only go to library, and only British Council, of only few places have that. There's an incredible story of resilience. People don't, I think we celebrate success so much that we forget to appreciate that behind every success, there are at least 10 failed trials to get to where you are. So help me understand this a little bit, that would you say moving to United States, because we are in United States, was your best decision? Um, if yes, why? If not, why not? And if it's mixed, please feel free to answer it the way you want.
Sure. So moving to United States, I would 100% definitely the best decision, and I'm incredibly grateful for the opportunities that US has provided me. The opportunities, professional opportunities, were immense here, incredible. I got to learn and spend time in amazing, very reputed institutions like, as I said, Kennedy Krieger, and Johns Hopkins, and then, of course, even Kaiser Permanente, which has given me a variety of varied experience, very rich experience. I got amazing, incredible mentorship for professional as well as personal life along the way here. And it really allowed me, other than the opportunities, to think bigger, to think about and create larger impact by thinking about entrepreneurship, and now building a wellness prevention related startup, which is what my passion is overall. That, how can we do something to bridge the gap of not having access to healthcare, not having access to mental health, especially. So my hope and my goal is to help some of that gap by providing some of the wellness and prevention that people don't even need to go for the clinicians. So yes, I mean, I am incredibly grateful.
And what would you say was your biggest challenge when you moved to US? I know you talked about that moving from India to UK was a bigger challenge, and probably your cultural assimilation was much of a shock when you moved to the UK. But let's just even face it, even the accent, dialects of how a person in UK speaks English to how someone speaks it in United States are R's and they're does. It's so different. Not that I'm trying to emphasize, but they're still two different worlds, even though they are developed economies. So what would you say was your biggest challenge when you moved from UK to the US? And let's not forget, this is a girl at that point in time who's just come from India, uh, probably having a lot of courage and confidence in herself, but the only support she had is herself, right? And the confidence in herself. So help me during those times, what would have been your biggest challenges when you moved to US?
Yes. So 2009 is when I moved here. And my residency that I got was in Buffalo, New York. So as I said earlier, very warm people, but very cold weather. So that was one of the challenge. I did not know how to be in the snow. I did not deal with that in UK. Did not know how to drive in that, how to clean the snow, how to even dress up, right? And but you have to go to your residency every single day, even if it's a 3 feet snow. Life does not stop in Buffalo. So that was my one of the challenge. The other challenge I would say, in the professional side, moving from UK to US, understanding um, the healthcare system was very different, because there's insurances and the hospital systems. All of that was very, to understand all of that, the hierarchy, the work culture, the patient care, the cultural nuances of patient care. Actually, it does change from East Coast to West Coast. So this is very different from UK to US in the different kind of healthcare system. Then also building your network again, right? Here is a new place, your professional network, and yeah, and then ungodly hours of residency and internship, which used to start at, like, I think our pre-round used to start at 5 a.m. So we have to begin there at like 4:30 a.m. So those kind of hours were challenging. And while I was in US during my fellowship, I got married, and my first son, Arya, he was born while I was finishing my fellowship. So balancing all of that was also, I would say, part of the challenge. But here we are.
How did you balance? In hindsight, of course, you've balanced it. And I'm pretty sure
Right.
when you were doing, you would have felt, oh no, I'm doing such a, uh, I don't want to judge, but I think we
Mhm.
all feel about during that journey, while we are encountering that situation, you always feel you can do better. And you're like, I'm not enough, or I'm not giving my 100%. So you have to give your 100%, or you're thinking to give 100% to your profession, now to your family, now to your kid. How did you overcome, or probably let me not even say overcome, what was your mantra that you lived by, that probably audiences could pick up and say, okay, this is how I will go about it?
So, like most people, and like most women, especially, I will emphasize, because we wear many hats, and of course, you are a professional. And at that time, I was a chief resident too, so I had some admin responsibility. I was also participating in research, and I had to write all of those kind of things because that was passion, right? And then at home, here is a new marriage, a husband, the responsibility. Then there's a newborn baby, but we did have support. Then there is a back home also. You are also a daughter and a sister, and all of those roles we have, and we want to be our absolute best in each of them. But at the same time, you tell yourself you can't be like 500%. You can only be 100%. But my mantra to myself was, be 100% in where I am in that time. If I'm at work, I'm just 100% at work. I'm not worrying about my child and my family. If I'm at home, I am not worrying about my work and calls and all of that. So that has what has helped me so far. That be 100% in the time that I am, so that I can make the most out of it.
I think what I learned from your story is be extremely passionate, because that's what builds resilience. And then compartmentalize and focus on one job at a time. And we've talked about a lot of your achievements. Like, I know you aren't really talking about them as achievements, but I look at the entire story as a long list of achievements. Uh, and I'm having a FOMO, for sure, and I'm sure audiences would be having as well. But I want to pick up something that probably we have not touched on is, of course, you've started your startup. Not started, I think there's been good an amount of time that you've spent on your startup. But you've also pursued, because you're trying to bring patient care through artificial intelligence, and not artificial intelligence as a word, because you pursued a course in AI from MIT. You really took that up notch. Can you talk to me about what happened there? What was the trigger? I know you want to deliver patient care, but you're a STEM student, and but it's very different to understand technology when you've already had an immensely successful career? Uh, so what was your really motivation uh, to get to, probably, I would say, get your hands dirty and then, of course, give it back through your startup?
Yes, Akriti. So it's almost feel like starting the life again from the square, from the platform, like from ground zero. Um, and of course, I do have option to just keep doing my private practice or the patient care in the way I have in all these years. Um, but over the years, here's what I think about 10 years ago, I gave a talk at this American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry. What we are facing is a real global issue of we don't have enough trained physicians, psychiatrists, especially in mental health, to provide the care to the need. So the gap is so large um, for the access of care that in the foreseeable future, in the generations coming, we cannot bridge that gap. Now, over the years, pandemic did not help. It made it even worse because the need became much more than we expected, and we don't have more people who are trained to provide such care. Now, while working during pandemic and providing care to the minors, we went through phases that there are no therapists in the entire SoCal who can take a 17-year-old. They were just all full. So it was real. We were all working, like taking at least four physicians in worth of patients. So the patient care get compromised in that. There is no satisfaction on either end. That really continued to struck with me. I said, there has to be something. It cannot be human intervention. It has to be, we have to use some technology. And we were hearing about AI was there for years, but we got more. I think it came on the forefront as the pandemic was fading away, and we were hearing more and more about it. And of course, when I last year decided that I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna do preventive measure, and that's where this whole thing came. That we are focusing on prevention in the physical health world, but not so much in the mental health world because we are behind in every aspect in the mental health. And that is where it all came from. So the two, as you said rightfully, technology were not the best asset. Of course, we know the Microsoft and all of that, but that was it. We always used to work on the EHR, but nothing to do with the AI. And so again, that same curiosity as it was when I wanted to become a doctor kicked in. I think that is just a part of here. And it's like, okay, let's another time to challenge yourself. You have done it before, you can do it again. Hence, I wanted to learn about AI in healthcare, not just AI, because of course, I'm not going to become an AI expert necessarily, but more of an AI in healthcare and how I can leverage that in bringing some solutions in the mental health world and the wellness world. And that's what led me to the AI in healthcare course from the MIT. And it really did help me quite a bit to understand the basics and the fundamental. And everybody who was attending in that cohort did some of their ideas and projects. And it was quite enriching. But it also solidified my thinking and ideas. And now we are, of course, I founded the Mindclair, which is part of that is the integrated, because I'm clinician at core, clinician, a medical educator. I like to educate, and of course, so I wanted to do some patient care. So I have this private practice of the holistic integrative psychiatry. But this wellness program that we are building right now, building for the MSMEs, employee wellness, because these smaller companies do not have budget for this employee wellness, and it gets really ignored when we spend so much time, every employee spends so much time for work, and more than half their life goes there. I think that workplace wellness is very important. So that's where I started. So this is in development. We are in the product development phase right now. So we have technology partners, and we're very excited. I'm really excited, and I really want to see it, taking off and make a difference to what trying to figure out. So the AI is more of my hope that it will bring in some solutions and bridge some gap.
Interesting. And what does your family think about um, your this journey to build a product that delivers care? And when I talk about your family back in India, uh, what about your folks, your spouse, and then what about your kids?
Interesting. So my parents, now they totally believe in me. Of course, they did believe in me. Otherwise, they wouldn't have let me pursue my dreams. But with the journey, they have more trust and faith, and they're happy that I'm doing it. I think somewhere they do say time to time they're proud of me that I haven't just taken the easy path of in that comfort zone, continue being that doctor and continue being that psychiatrist. It's a thriving career at a Kaiser permanently. There's nothing wrong with that. But yet again, I'm here from starting from the clean slate in this health tech world. But they believe in me. They continue to have faith. Now my husband, Anupam, he has been my rock. He's here all the way. He's the one who also encouraged me to take this plunge. And without his support, I wouldn't have been able to do it. And he supports. He helped me. He's a great mentor for me in the entrepreneur, because he's an entrepreneur for almost like 15 years, and he knows ins and outs. So he helps me think through and solve so many puzzles and encourage when I'm like, I'm not sure. Kids are also, I have two boys. Arya is 10, and my younger one is Ryan. He's 8. And they are both very, very excited. They know what is Mindclair and what they're doing. So they look up to me. They are proud that their mom is a doctor. First of all, they say, okay, um, Dr. Mom. Sometimes when my younger one is upset, like, okay, you are only mom, you're not Dr. Mom. But yes, no, they also look at me with proud, and they can't wait to see what shape it will take, and they're very helpful and supportive.
Do they say probably this is a dangerous mom because she knows more about technology than usual moms, their kids or probably their peers would have? Do they get scared? Mom, you know too much.
No, they don't get scared, but I think this is always like they chuckle. Okay, so they don't Google anymore. They're not the kids who use Google. They use
Okay.
Chat GPT for everything. So these are my kids, and they can absolutely talk in terms of the psychiatric terms, the anxiety, the depression, the I'm feeling scared of this. So can you do my therapy? So that's why kids of a psychiatrist uh, sound like.
Which is very interesting because I think one of the biggest things that we miss today is the fact that we are all not self-aware. That's where most of the mental challenges come. And while, as you said, and it's surprising for me as well that, care is the limitation of care is to such a degree that we don't have clinicians for new patients. It definitely strikes me. And of course, there is need for therefore having technology intervention. But sorry if I forgot my flow of thought here. But what I'm trying to say is that in the era of social media, besides COVID, I think it hasn't helped to probably increase the patients, then decrease. So, and then top it up with people not being self-aware. It's hard for today's child to grow up without the support. Um, I would I would think about it like, let's say 20 years back, if you said, you know, psychiatrists were in small or little supply, probably it was not that big a problem statement. But with loneliness increasing today, competition, people not being self-aware because you're trying to project yourself as what you're not, because everybody on TikTok is like great, everybody on YouTube looks great. No one seems to have a dull life. So that does a lot to your psychology. And I can only imagine the gap probably has deepened more than we think. And I might be probably now getting extremely intuitive. Maybe that's why we have so much unrest today in the world. Uh, that this is could be one of the root causes. If addressed, we might have peaceful nations tomorrow. Uh, yeah, but those are my thoughts. Sorry for rambling. Do you want to share your insights on my insights?
No, those are not beyond fact. Uh, that is where we are, and I'm not sure if I will say that is the only root cause for the unrest, because a lot of other things go into it, but definitely it does go into it. If people live mindfully, when people live, or when anybody live mindfully, with practicing everything that a body and mind and soul or spirit needs, then they are leading a more balanced and fulfilling life. Then all of those unrest and the so much of the bubble people create around themselves and portray in certain way on the social media will become more realistic and like as people use the word FOMO and the scarcity mindset. I think that those things will come um, to lower pavement, and hopefully all of that can help cut down some of these unrest and riots and hatred and whatnot, which is all over the globe right now. But you nailed it, absolutely.
And tell me something, how could young audience, or let's say middle-aged audience, or people who are new parents understand whether their child might need certain preventive intervention? Because I think the bigger cause is also we live in denial.
Mhm.
Uh, so could you provide any tips where probably, let's say, a child who's watching this, hopefully doesn't feel like uh, a patient, but let's say there are signs. Similarly, let's say we have young parents. Uh, what should they look out to be sure or to understand? Okay, these are telling signs of an intervention being needed.
So two things here, Akriti. One, you said the prevention. What can somebody do, or prevention, or what we call wellness. So that is before you see any signs and symptoms. That's almost like going to gym every day. It's not because you're fat, it's not because you're obese, because it is the healthiest thing to do for ourselves. Just like that, equivalent of that for the mental health are the practices like being mindful. um, Listen to your body. Listen to if your body you're feeling certain way, do not ignore that. uh, take a note of that, write it down. Talk to friends and family like we used to do in the past. Um, so listen to your body, be mindful, um, do the things like for the young families or even kids, some yoga practices, some mindfulness, um, leading a balance like regular exercises, healthy, nutritious food. I can't emphasize enough that how important that is in the age of fast foods and everything. It gets ignored. So good nutrition, regular exercise, regular mindfulness practices, yoga, meditation. If you do all of those things, and do not forget to to pursue some of your hobbies, and talk, not just be on the screen, but really talk in person to your family and friends. That helps children to stay connected to their loved ones, and same with the parents to know what is happening in their children's life. And that way they can, any change in the behavior that goes longer and unexplained, then that is your warning sign right there. Okay, what is going on? Explore with your loved one, with your child or the teenager, and be available. uh, Let them know that you are there, and create that supportive environment around you. That goes a long way.
Amazing. I think the way I would want to summarize this is pursue a hobby, because that at least that hobby is not doing a TikTok video, guys, and that's not doing an Instagram short. That hobby is doing physical activity and getting probably as bad as soaking in the sun and having chapped lips, playing football or being bad at it. But so yeah, pursuing hobby. I think you mentioned something really critical is talk. What I also want to emphasize, especially for uh, the audience here and children and the parents who will be watching, children should talk to their parents a lot more. In the age of social media, the divide or distance has only increased um, unconsciously. And I think the only place where kids, okay, I should not even call kids, they would probably not like it. Guys, who you know who you are.
Teenagers,
Teenage,
teenagers or
yeah.
preteens.
The teenagers, you are the most vulnerable. And it's unfortunate that it's very hard as a teenager to identify if preventive intervention may be needed, or are you even doing enough good job there. So talk to your parents, because that's where you would be the most vulnerable and okay to be vulnerable. You cannot be as vulnerable as you want to be with your peer group, because all teens want to be like at top of the Snapchat or top of the TikTok. So my advice would be talk to your parents, talk to your elders, not from an advice perspective, but just because talking to them would allow yourself to express your vulnerabilities. And that doesn't have to be a conversation where you're telling them a problem statement, because you are teens, I understand. But it would help you become more aware, because when you're talking to these folks, you're not wearing a mask, or there is an inherent need of not to prove yourself as someone different. So that's how I'll summarize it. Uh, but Ritu, that brings me to another piece. You said when you see telling signs, when you're trying to practice mindfulness, let's say trying to pursue a hobby and you probably don't find any hobby, that's a big telling sign. Uh, or you don't like to talk to people. There are times in my life where I really shut down myself, because it these are hard times and I don't want to talk to anybody. And actually that's the time I should be talking to people. But nevertheless, what I'm trying to say is when parents start identifying, so they've used these preventive measures and they identify these warning signs, what should be their next step? Uh, yeah.
So if you notice that your young ones um, behaving differently and like, say for example, withdrawn, spending more time in their room, not doing their usual things, whether it's going out with friends, talking to them on the phone, or even coming out for dinners and meals, not taking care of their personal hygiene. I mean, that's most teenagers anyways usually, but it got worse. There's a change, or the change in the pattern of their sleep and their eating and all that. These kind of signs could lead to that maybe there's a depression or anxiety, or something else has happened. The trauma can happen along the way. So talk to them, try to figure out. And if and a lot of the time teenagers do open up when teenagers or young ones, the kids, most people do open up when people are genuinely and sincerely, without feeling the threat of being mocked or not being believed. Once you have that, you can reach out to your primary care physician. Um, you can reach out to, I would reach out to the primary care physician if it has gone more than 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and you're noticing that it's affecting all other areas of life. Like now they're missing out on school. Now they are not doing their out of school activities, um, and it's declining. Then I would go out, talk to the PCP, or talk to, or get a therapist on board, and then take it from there.
Thank you so much. I think so larger disinterest from the teens or your children, that should be a good trigger point for seeking at least some advice from person better than you, that is your primary care physician. Uh, I think on that note, Ritu, I want to ask, of course, we've had your story of struggle, story of success, and it seems like you haven't reached your North Star yet. For us, you're already a star. Tell us, what is that dream, or what is that North Star? Because I know that North Star is also going to shift, as you said earlier. But what is your current North Star like? And how could we, our viewers, anybody who wants to support your cause, support and help you?
Thank you, Akriti. That is true, that the North Star keeps shifting, and I like that, because there shouldn't be the learning, and the quest for moving forward shouldn't stop at any point. Currently, I would say the if I call what I would like to see, what my vision is, to have this AI enabled, hopefully that will do what I'm looking for, program that can help population at large, even globally, the children, the schools, the colleges, our youth, and our employees at large, to be able to take better care of themselves in every sphere: the mental health, the physical health, the chronic conditions, financial health, the spiritual health, all of them together, that they lead a fulfilling and balanced life. And that will, in my journey, would be the most desired outcome. um, I would really encourage all the audience to practice these things regularly, like your, if whatever kind of exercise. It doesn't have to be very intense. Even the stroll in the park or neighborhood for 30 minutes every day, um, doing just some mindfulness, some gratefulness in the morning as you're getting out of bed. Write some thoughts, or if anything is on your mind bothering you, journal those things, talk to people, practice some yoga, deep breathing. Those kind of exercises good for your spirit as well as the mental health, and have healthy nutrition. So do all those practices for you, and do not get scared or bogged down by the societal or the cultural expectations. Do not let them limit your potential. I would say dream big, believe in yourself, focus on your goal, and the barriers will automatically, you will find the path. If I can do it, I guess you can do it too.
Thank you so much, Ritu. Is there any other unique insight you want to share through this podcast? We're towards the end of it, that probably we have not shared up till now.
So I can't say enough, because that is who I am at core, that integrative psychiatrist, that I want everybody to lead a fulfilling and balanced life, practice these mindfulness, yoga, the balanced life of the healthy nutrition, and talk to each other. A screen is okay for some time, but that's not our real life. And be the best version of yourself for everyone. That is what will take you to your long term goals. That is what will take you to places where you want to be, and manifest.
Oh, that's lovely, actually. That's a lovely note to end on. Guys, believe in yourself. That's how you get Saahas or courage. Uh, like Ritu said, if she could do it, you could too. She's an overachiever, so it might sound like, okay, if she could do it, probably I can't. But here is the thing. The age when she took those calls, she was breaking a glass ceiling. So if she could do, you can definitely, with immense courage, with immense manifestation, and hopefully all of us we get our North Stars that makes this world a better place to live in. Thank you for listening and tuning to us. Hope you liked our show. Please support Saahas, and we will talk to you again.
Thank you, Akriti, for having me.
Thank you.